the workshop. My all-time favorite place in my current backyard. Before that was the top of the pump house in my old backyard, which, by the way, speaking of that, I actually have an entire Saturday Stories, which, fun fact, was actually the first ever Saturday Stories on this channel, where I actually went through the entire history of that very room. So if you're curious to know what the history of the top of the pump house was, which was my former workshop in the old backyard, before my current one in my new backyard, which I am still in today, go check out that first episode to see what the history of that room is. That's where I explain it all. But now, over 3 years later, it's time to finally do the workshop history. Now, why did I wait all this time to do this now, instead of like a few years back? Well, I wanted to wait till honestly the workshop was in much better condition. And I could have done it immediately after I finished the workshop originally, before the rebuild project this year, because of the things that happened to it in March. But honestly, I didn't really feel like it. But now I'm finally up to it, after all this time. And technically, I did make something very similar to this, technically, as episode 13 of Saturday Stories, where I compare the room phases of the top of the pump house and the workshop, both in a single episode. Fun fact, I recently just rewatched that video, which actually gave me the inspiration for this episode. So without further ado, let's finally jump into this. This is the history of the workshop. At least at its current state. Because you know we're going to be improving this place so much more in the future, throughout the next few years. Because let's be clear, we have literally no plans at all of leaving this backyard or my current house anytime soon. Because I still absolutely love this house and backyard, alongside my entire family itself. We have no plans on leaving this place anytime soon, so you're definitely going to continue to see it throughout the next few years. Or even a few more after that, because we still absolutely love this place. So, just thought I'd make that clear when I said at its current form. So yeah, with that being said, let's finally jump right into it. Oh yes, don't worry, Cody right there is still with us, obviously. Just thought I'd make myself clear for those who don't know about that yet. Alright, phase 1 of the workshop. Which, fun fact, literally started the day I even moved to this backyard. May 24th, 2018. Of course, as expected, since it was the first phase, not much was really there. But actually, unlike the top of the pump house where there was almost nothing there was actually a ton of stuff here. However, since we only had just gotten there at the time, just be clear also, granted, this footage was actually made on June 17th, 2018, which was almost a month after we moved into this house, the one I'm still in today. But basically, let me pause the footage for a second. Let me just explain what all this is. So basically, this is the part where it was all just grass, which it isn't anymore. We have the chairs, project table, the gray bin with the wood in it, the time machine window, the time machine curtain, a white bin filled with the balls, and another white bin down there filled with the rocks and rings. So basically, to clarify, everything in this first phase is all still here today. The only thing to actually not be here from this phase anymore is the project table. Oh yeah, just to be clear, that's gone because it actually got destroyed around a month later in July 2018 while I was in New York that summer in July of that year. Because during the New York trip 2018, it was raining pretty much every day where I lived. Which meant, since we also didn't have a roof, you would expect everything to get rained on. And oh boy it did, meaning we had to sacrifice this project table only just a few months later. But everything else in this phase besides the project table is all still here today. I'm not even joking. You'll see it throughout the entire video. This phase started on May 24th, 2018, which again was literally the day I moved into this house. And ended on July 5th, 2018. So around a month and a half of this first phase, which was nuts. Alright, phase 2. So this one started on July 5th, 2018. And what's funny about this phase is it's actually a very similar recreation. There we go. That's what I was trying to find there. A very similar recreation to me building phases 5 and 9 of the top of the pump house on video. This was a very similar episode to that, where I actually created all of phase 2 on video. Except for the platform right there and the project table being there, that was already there beforehand by my dad, which me and him built the platform back in the day, which is actually still there today, believe it or not. Although it has been covered up a bit with another floor, which we'll be seeing in a later phase, which is also still there today. So like I just said, we basically, or at least I basically, built all of phase 2 on video, as a very similar recreation to phases 5 and 9 of the top of the pump house. Which phase 9 was only created for the top of the pump house only like 6 months prior. And phase 5 at the top of the pump house was built on video only like almost a year prior. So that was nuts. Now with that being said, this would be the last time I would ever build a phase of the workshop on video. And actually would be the only time I would ever build a phase of the workshop on video. Forever. I'm not joking. This would be the only time I do that. Because now, it's all just built off camera. For the better. To make it more of a surprise that way. But I will still admit that this was so much fun to do. It was so much fun to recreate. It was just so much fun in general to just create the workshop in general at its current state. Of course, obviously, 3 years have passed since then. Of course, the workshop does not look like this now. It has obviously looked entirely different, which we will get to later. This phase started on July 5th, 2018, and only lasted for like 3 weeks. Well, it kind of lasted for over a month, actually. Technically, August of 2018. But technically, phase 3 only occurs like 3 weeks later. After phase 2 was built. Because, remember how I said something happened to the project table earlier? Well, that's what phase 3 is. I will still admit it was very fun creating the workshop. I will always remember that. In fact, I recently just rewatched this episode. That's how I remember it so well. So, yeah. In fact, actually, I just rewatched the entire workshop building project very recently, like a few days back, before making this video. So, that's another reason I got the inspiration for this video. So yeah. Alright, on to phase 3, where is where I really talk about why the project table got destroyed. Phase 3, which occurred on July 25th, 2018. This is where the project table was destroyed. And oh boy was it nuts. Basically, this phase is where everything got rained on over the last few weeks when I was in New York at the time. I came back home from New York to the workshop being entirely rained on and the project table destroyed. And oh boy, I was very upset when I saw the project table destroyed, as I would have to get an entirely new project table, which then eventually happened a little while later. However, I do actually have an entire video where literally the project table is entirely destroyed. You know, let me actually just pull that up now, actually. At this point, this was recorded August 16th of 2018. This is basically where the entire project table was entirely destroyed at that point. So, yeah, Phase 3 lasted for a little while. It was one of the longest phases at the time. Well, Phase 1 actually lasted the longest out of all of these phases so far, but it was the second longest phase. So yeah, a few weeks later, the project table just kept getting even more and more rained on and just even more destroyed in general. So that was the main part of Phase 3, which meant we had to do something about the workshop since it kept getting rained on throughout the summer. And that, my friends, led into Phase 4. Phase 4 is literally when pretty much the entire workshop was empty. That was nuts. Now, I forgot to mention, I think Phase 3, ended after the project table was entirely destroyed. So, that was pretty cool. So basically, Phase 3 lasted from pretty much, let's see, July 25th, 2018, all the way until, I think, August 16th of 2018. I think, at least. I don't remember the actual one. Now, Phase 4, on the other hand, this is footage from August 26th, 2018. Phase 4 lasted from, I want to say, let's see. Let me think about this. Oh, by the way, it literally just turned midnight. It's like 12:03 a.m. I'm going to also make a Midnight Fun episode tonight because I actually want to show you something pretty cool that I just did the whole day. Alright, I think I finally figured it out. I do know when Phase 4 did end, though. I think it started around, August 23rd or something of 2018, which meant technically Phase 3 did end on August 23rd, so after almost an entire month. So, with that being said, it also ended on September 1st, that was pretty cool. Anyway, the point of Phase 4 was actually the workshop being entirely empty with literally just the project table. Like, it was literally just the project table. Yep, Phase 4 was basically just the workshop entirely empty with just the project table, but eventually it was removed in Phase 5, which started on September 1st. Thankfully, for the rest of these, I do remember when their respective phases started and ended. So I think Phase 4 started August 23rd and ended September 1st. Well, I do know it ended September 1st. I just don't remember the original start date. But Phase 5. Alright, guys, for Phase 5, it started September 1st, 2018 and ended on October 7th, 2018. As you guys could have told by the footage right there, the workshop was finally getting back into action. The pillars that are actually still there today were finally built into that very wall of the shed. And that was literally it. Nothing else. I'm not even joking. Alright guys, I have no idea what's going on with my recorder right now, but I can't get it back into the proper screen I need. So I guess I have to do it all in full screen, but oh well. Anyway, here is Phase 6, everybody. Starting on October 7th, 2018, and ending October 20th. Which only lasted for like 13 days, making it one of the shortest phases ever. And actually it was. So, basically, the workshop was getting into more of how it was for a few years. So, basically, things kept getting more and more improved. We have the shelves right there. We have the second pillar, which is also still here today. And yeah, basically, it was just getting to the point where it could be forever, basically. Well, at least until March of 2021. So it was pretty much getting to the point where it would stay the same till March of 2021. So it was almost done, actually, at the time. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, basically, again, this phase was basically saying that the workshop was almost done. And yeah, with that being said, on to phase 7. Phase 7, everybody. Let's do this. Alright, let's make something clear. I think this phase, holds the record for the longest phase ever in a single room. So, yeah. And so let me just pull up the footage right here. Are we ready for this? So phase 7, my friends, was this right here. Yep, it was basically the workshop done after 3 months of trying to improve it after what happened in July of 2018. Basically, it went from the project table being destroyed and everything rained on to this very room design. So basically, everything was in its own spot and it was awesome. And oh my god, there's the old project table, the most recent one. My god, I miss that project table. It was so cool. But I'll say, I think the one we have now, is even better. So, yes, this very room design was actually here for quite a long time, actually. And I mean a very long time. You don't even understand how long this room was like this. At least with the way it was built. It was like this for so long. So long that I'm just going to tell you it after. Because this room was here for so long, the way it looked for so long, of course, so many changes had to be made. This very project table right here actually was gone after, it just, it got destroyed after a while. The one that you see in the footage. If you're curious to know what happened to the project table, and there were actually many changes in this room over the last, for just how long it was there. There were so many changes because of how long it was there. How long the room looked like that. And yes, that floor is actually still there today. So that's pretty cool. And those chairs are also still here today. Basically everything in this room is actually still here today besides the project table, of course. Yep. Basically everything in this phase, for phase 7, is all still here today except for the project table, of course. And maybe at least one of those shelves. But yeah, anyway, let me talk about all the changes that happened in this very phase because it was here for so long. And then I'll tell you how long it was there, which you guys will be blown away because it was here for a very long time. Before we do though, I may as well talk about this. So the chairs were actually kind of right there for a long time. We had the project table right there, the wood right there, and all the balls right there. But later on, they were moved to over here, where they were all the way until the next phase, which didn't take place for quite a while after this one. And the curtain was there, and actually still is today, actually. So that's awesome. And then not really much else actually happened. The roof was intact, which was the main point of this phase, was that we finally had the roof, which is also still here today. So yeah. Anyway, with that being said, now I can talk about all the changes that happened while this phase was here due to it being here for so long. Oh, by the way, I actually realized I actually showed you guys the wrong footage of the project table being destroyed. This is the real video where it actually got destroyed entirely. Basically just a part 2 of that video, to be exact. But back on topic. Just thought I'd bring this up really quick. Oh, by the way, just replying to CoolCat33, just to let him know that I'm actually making the Saturday stories. Because you know how I forget these videos a lot. There you go. just wanted to just prove that. Oh, and you actually can see when I'm filming this now. Yeah, that's late. On October 26, 2018, which is literally only 6 days after the workshop was completed. Seriously, it was really that quick for something different to happen to the room? That was very, very quick. So, that was cool. Anyway, what this first change to the room happened was workshop lights. Oh, and this began the phase in my life where I loved to light up the workshop, which I still do today. Although technically, as I'm recording this video, there actually are no lights in the workshop right now because it's still being redone. And we also are trying to find another way to hang up the lights. And those thumbtacks up there are actually still there today, but actually won't be there much longer because we found a better way to hang up the lights now, as I said in the October 7th episode about the workshop. But, yeah, the first change was lights. Actually, a lot of these are lights that are the changes in this room. So let's just go for all of them very quickly. On November 10th, 2018, I got entirely new lights. This was due to the fact that the ones you just saw earlier were, they just stopped working entirely. And this is where I got my addiction to the blue lights, which I still have today. I just love the blue lights, and that's why I still have them today. And this is where it all started for the lights, for the blue lights. So see, just wanted to let you know, if you want to know where it all started, go watch this very episode. It was Day/Night 3. Oh yeah, don't worry, Day/Night is returning this year for the 5th anniversary. It's pretty much a classic at this point. You know I'm bringing it back on November 10th this year for the 5th anniversary. Just thought I'd bring that up. I mean, that was already obvious. Of course I was. It's a classic. Every year on November 10th. But anyway, the second change was the blue lights. And this continued on for a long time. And still does today. This very change still occurs in the workshop today, which is seriously awesome. Before I go on to the next change, I want to address something. So, I also want to go over how long all these changes occurred. The first set of lights that you saw, which was those yellow ones on October 26th, those lasted from October 26th, 2018 to November 10th, 2018. And then the blue lights, which technically are still a thing today, lasted, the original ones, lasted from November 10th, 2018 to January 16th, 2019. And then they didn't come back for like another 3 months. Until like April 29th, 2019. 2019. Alright, now on to the next change. For real this time. On February 28th, 2019. Wow. We lost something. We lost something very special in this backyard. In the workshop, to be exact. And that, my friends, was none other than, well, the project table. Remember how I said that it wouldn't last for that long? Yeah. On February 28th, 2019, it fell down. It actually fell down. So, in total, that project table lasted from October 20th, 2018 to February 28th, 2019. And due to this, we had to go without the project table from February 28th, 2019, all the way until June 28th, 2019, which was exactly 4 months. Wow. Oh, and just to be clear, here is what it looked like from Well, actually, this was removed on April 29th. The project table was removed. So technically, it stayed on the ground from February 28th, 2019, all the way to April 29th, 2019. So basically 2 months and 1 day. And then basically it looked like this from April 29th, 2019, all the way until June 28th, 2019. So that was nuts. And this was a message stating that the project table would be coming back. That was a lie. It actually came back in June 2019. Yep, and the improved part is true because that very project table that came after that is actually still here today. Speaking of which, and I just realized I had my volume on the entire time. Frick! On June 28th, 2019, the project table that we all know today was built and put into the workshop, which is still here to this very day and will never, ever be replaced. Yep, this project table you're seeing in the footage is still in the workshop to this very day and still works completely fine with no problems whatsoever. Now, yes, it may have gotten destroyed a tiny bit in the last few years, probably just because of how long it's been there, but it still holds up today in 2021 very well. And it's never been replaced since because it's still there and it still works completely fine. So, that was another one of the changes. Next! On February 15th, 2020, yes, literally the day after Valentine's Day that year, I decided to randomly get rid of the blue lights for some reason and change to some entirely new lights. This being green and rainbow. And this started the very phase where I would use more than just the blue lights at certain times of the year, but mainly would always keep the classic blue light rule at all times. Okay, never mind, the blue lights still are a thing here. Anyway, as you can see, I had way too much fun with this, mixing the green, blue, and rainbow lights all into a single room. And it stayed like this for a bit. Started on February 15th, 2020, and ended, hold on. Alright, so it ended in June of 2020, basically. Well, even though you could still see them on, they were pretty much just dead at that point. Like, they just stayed on permanently until they finally just died out. So, yeah. But it wasn't too long until new lights were there. On September 14th, 2020, we got all new lights after, give or take 7 months. So that was a nice change. They consisted of blue, of course, rainbow, and was that it? Hold on, let me see. Okay, yeah, basically just like 3 sets of rainbow lights and blue. So that lasted for a while. It started September 14th and ended, give me a second, let me look for it. Right. It ended November 8th of 2020. But on November 7th, I went nuts with this. And it was actually for an anniversary celebration where I actually bought some brand new lights on November 6th and used them for this one event in general for the Top of the Pump House 4th anniversary celebration. It was a fantastic celebration where I combined so many unique lights into its own event. It was awesome. And it's just insane how far I went with this event. It had to be one of my greatest events I think I had ever made in the history of the backyard because there were just so many unique lights that I did for this event. And it was only there for like a day, so yeah. And what's funny is that the workshop never actually was combined with those lights ever again when the workshop had literally no events going on, unfortunately. They were only there for a limited time only, which was unfortunate, but hey, you can't have everything. On November 8th, 2020, the workshop went back to just being blue, and I think it actually has been this way since, which I wouldn't be surprised. So yep, the workshop back to being only just blue, and I think it's been this way again since. And my god, at the time, it was fantastic. So yeah. With that being said, yes, I think it's been this way since. So it's been November 8th all the way until, I think, present day. But let me check to make sure I'm actually saying that correctly. Yeah, it pretty much stayed that way from November 8th, 2020 all the way until technically present day. Which is nuts. Technically, as of this video being technically recorded, they're actually removed right now. So, yeah. They're technically still here today. Almost a whole year later. Which is nuts. So basically, the November 8th, 2020 update was actually the last official update to this very phase of this room. That was until on March 24th, 2021. After nearly 3 years of that same exact room, it finally changed. Phase 8, everybody! After 3 long years! Which meant Phase 7 lasted from October 20th, 2018, all the way until March 24th of 2021, making it the longest ever phase for a single room. Oh my god. That there set the official record for the longest ever phase of the workshop, lasting a total of almost 3 years. Oh my god. And thankfully, that is never, ever gonna happen again where a room probably stays the same for that long. It stayed the same for almost exactly 3 years. Oh my god. Oh my god. It really stayed the same for that long besides a few light changes? Yeah. Besides only a few light changes, the room pretty much stayed exactly the same besides the project table being replaced once. And then the lights being changed every few months for like almost 3 years. So yeah, basically the room did not change ever again pretty much until March 24th of 2021. And the reason was this. On March 24th, 2021, the fences, as you could see, were torn down entirely. Which meant, as of this very moment, you could see the entire workshop from the outside. And it was nuts. So basically the room that you had been seeing pretty much all this time was just gone. The room technically was still intact. The fences itself were gone. And it's funny because only 2 days later, we got something pretty epic out of this. Phase 9. On March 26th, 2021, we got introduced to an entirely bigger workshop. An even bigger workshop. And it's still like this today, where the workshop is bigger, and will be like this permanently. But of course, due to this, something had to be done. I mean, it couldn't look like that forever. Due to the fence improvements, we lost a ton of things like the shelves. You remember those shelves that were there over the last few years that you've been seeing throughout this video? Yeah, you probably noticed they were gone in Phase 8 and 9. Which was nuts. Seriously nuts. So pretty much, Phase 9 pretty much brought us a bigger workshop. And Phase 8 was pretty much the workshop with no fences. At all. Alright. So Phase 8 lasted from March 24th, ending on the 26th. Making it the shortest phase ever in backyard history. At least for the workshop. This phase is actually technically still here today, technically. Because the fences are never going to be leaving. But, technically, this phase actually lasted all the way, technically, until July of the same year. Because, well, this happened. Phase 10. Technically, Phase 9 ended on July 27th. I think, at least. I think it ended July 27th. So, 4 months. That's nice. Never mind, my mistake, guys. Phase 10 actually was, right here, actually, at the end of March, right after the construction. So Phase 9 only lasted for like a few days. My mistake. Let me look into this more. Alright, I was wrong. Phase 10 started on March 27th, and I think ended on July 27th. Give me a second to see if I'm correct. I am correct with the start date. Phase 10 did indeed start on March 27th, which means I think Phase 9 only lasted for maybe like 2 days, because technically the fences actually went up on March 25th. So technically Phase 9 lasted for like 2 days, making it the shortest phase yet. Phase 10 lasted from March 27th, and let me see if it was July 27th that it ended. Yep, it was indeed July 27th. Now on to Phase 11, which started all the way right here, actually. It was basically when the workshop was becoming a big mess, and this actually lasted for a decent amount of time. But over time, it actually got worse. Mainly looking like this. Yeah, this. It turned into this. For like 2 months. And, yeah. Even the grass was bad. It was trashed for all of Phase 11. And my god, this was the most, like, I did not think the workshop was actually gonna look like this. It really, really looked trash. To the point where we had no choice but to just redo the place entirely. Not really, actually, just a bit. But, yeah, that was Phase 11. It started on, hold on. It started on July 27th and ended on September 8th. So that was a month and a half of the workshop being trashed. Which was not good at all. Thankfully, it's cleaned up now. And Phase 12 is where we're starting to get to today. But first, hear why Phase 12 even exists. We need to fix this place. ASAP. Luckily, that is coming very, very soon. As you can see, this place looks trashed. And how the heck am I going to be able to clean up all of that? Thankfully, I got a plan. And you guys will know what I mean later on. 'Cause we're going to be renovating this place very soon. To make sure that something like this never happens again. Coming soon. I don't have any footage of Phase 12, but it pretty much looks almost like this, which is actually Phase 13. I will explain it though. Phase 12 was from September 8th through the 14th. When basically, we obviously cleaned up the workshop after that disastrous mess that I left as Phase 11. And yeah. Basically, Phase 12 was just the workshop finally cleaned up. And that was it. And pretty much everything else laid out there like that for a long time. And actually kind of still is now. Except for a few things now changed now. So it started again from September 8th through the 14th. It ended the 14th, and now we go on to one of the most recent phases. Phase 13. Phase 13 started on September 14th, 2021, ending on October 3rd, 2021. So, that is pretty cool. First off, this was the first official phase since Phase 6 to not have the roof. And would be the last ever phase to never have the roof. As at this point, starting in Phase 13 through, basically, our current phase, mainly. Because as of Phase 14, the roof is back up now. But that one didn't last long. So basically, Phase 13 was basically the workshop entirely under construction. So that was cool. This actually did last for a few weeks. Again, 2.5 weeks of this same phase. Almost actually exactly 3 weeks, actually. And what's funny is that phases 14 and 15 were literally just this past week. They both occurred in a single week, which is nuts. Which we'll get to phase 14 in just a second. So basically, yep, this was phase 13, where the entire workshop was back to being under construction after 3 years. As since now that those new fences were there as of March, we had to pretty much rework almost the entire room, which was and still is pretty crazy. We're actually almost done with it. And I'll tell you more what I mean once we get to phase 15, which is our current phase as of this video being recorded, as it was only done like a few days ago, back on October 7th, as of this video being recorded. So, that's pretty cool. Alright, guys. So, yeah, that's pretty cool, right? So, yep, this is our current, this is the most, semi-most recent phase. Which, actually, most of this stuff is actually still in the same spot, actually, besides the shelves and roof. Besides that, everything else is actually still in the same spot from this phase, which is still nuts. The only things to change from this phase is the roof being back up and the shelves finally being added. Besides that, everything else is still the same from this phase. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. The workshop was back to being under construction after 3 years. That was pretty nuts. On to phase 14, which isn't much since it didn't even last long. Alright, here we go. Phase 14, the most recent phase as of this video being recorded. And that was with the workshop having the roof back after nearly a month. And that's funny because that was only like 7 days ago as of this video being recorded, which is nuts. This phase lasted from October 3rd, ending on the 7th. So it only lasted for like 4 days, making it the second shortest phase in the workshop's history, which is still absolutely nuts. So basically all it was that, number one, the roof was back. Secondly, it was a bit bigger. And that was basically it. The next phase was, well, let's get into that last phase now, which is our current phase. Because, oh boy, was epic. So the only new thing that was there was the roof being back. It was a bit bigger. And that was it for phase 14. Now, on to our current phase, phase 15. And lastly but not least, guys, as for right now at least, phase 15, which is our current phase, as of this video being recorded, which is the return of the shelves, which is seriously nuts. So that is seriously awesome. So this is our current phase right now, guys, which is the return of the shelves. It started October 7th, 2021, and is still there right now to this time, to present day. Of course, the next phase, we have no clue what it's going to be or when it's going to be. But as of right now, currently from October 7th to present day, October 10th, as of recording this, it is currently the return of the shelves phase of the workshop, which is seriously awesome. Speaking of which, there is a backyard video today, so be on the lookout for that one. So yeah, with that being said, guys, that's it. That's it for the history of the workshop. I'm surprised it's only like 45 minutes long. I thought it was going to be a lot longer. So yes, with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching this week's Saturday Stories. Tune into next week's on Saturday, October 16th for the long-awaited story for how I got all the dogs that I have today on Lego's Island. I was going to do that this week, finally. I know, I'm serious, I was finally going to do that. And then, I thought of this story instead. So, yeah. That being said, what is your favorite phase of the workshop so far? Of course, phase 16 will obviously be occurring later this month, which is going to be great as we get closer and closer to the official completion of the workshop once and for all. After 3 long years, or at least after it being rebuilt for like the last 7 months. Because basically it's been pretty much under construction for pretty much since March. So yeah, we're almost done, guys, with the workshop, which means I'm pretty sure the next phase after the completion will not be for a long time, just like how the room stayed the same for nearly 3 years. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next time for a Sunday vlog, backyard videos, and Lego's Island for the Close Shop 3rd anniversary. Goodbye! I don't even know what phase of the workshop is my favorite so far. I really don't. I think it's when we had the same room design for 3 years. That was pretty awesome. Alright, now I'm done.